Welkom bij de 6e aflevering van Achter de Muziek. Ik heb net hier in mijn huiskamer gepraat met Philip Harper. Online. Het was een superleuk interview. Hij is dirigent van de Corrie Band en componist. Ik zou zeggen, we gaan kijken. Welcome Philip in my podcast. It's called Behind the Music in English. In Dutch it's called Achter de Muziek. It means behind the music, obviously. We're very happy to have you, and let's just dive into the first question. Could you tell us very shortly how you started in music?
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for inviting me. It's my great pleasure to be here. How I started in music. Well, when I look at my musical life today, it's always a bit of a mystery as to kind of how I got here, because unlike lots and lots of musicians, I had no music in my family. No one preceding me in my family is a musician or musical at all. But I think the way I started in music was actually in the cinema. Back in the late 70s, I went to the cinema and watched a film you've probably heard of, which is called Star Wars. And I remember coming out of the cinema, or rather, I don't remember, I was too young, but my parents remember me coming out of the cinema and saying, I want to do that. I'm really interested in that. And they didn't really know what I was talking about. But
Not being a Jedi Master, I assume.
They asked me some further questions, and it turned out I didn't want to be the next Yoda. But what I did want to do was be involved with music like I'd just heard in the cinema that really stirred me. And of course, anyone who's ever heard the music of Star Wars, which must be surely the whole planet, will know that it's really, really brass heavy. And so, in answer to your question, how did I get started? It was really kind of when I first really appreciated the sound of brass, and it just did something to me, and it kind of ignited something in me. So my mother sent me along to the local brass band, and I started learning the tenor horn. It was a nice little hobby of mine. And then, as you go through life, you kind of make choices about what you're really passionate about and which route you want to go down. So, music, and particularly brass music, was really doing it for me. So I went down that path. I studied music at university, et cetera, et cetera. Got pretty far with my tenor horn, and I was principal horn of the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain, for example. Finally, in my mid-20s, I decided to hang up the tenor horn and do more conducting. And that's kind of where I've been developing for the last 20 odd years. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That's how it got started.
And we all know where you ended up with conducting, so we don't need to talk about that very broadly now.
Where I am at the moment, not quite where I'm going to end up. Who knows?
Let's see where you end up. That would be interesting. Where would you like to end up?
Well, I mean, I'm very kind of motivated to conduct at the moment, and just find I have a lot of creative ideas. So, I mean, my short-term hope is that I just get the opportunity to continue working with musicians of the highest caliber, so that I can kind of, give form to these creative ideas in my head. I mean, I guess those ideas are going to slow down or stop one day, but they're still going for now. So, I'll just keep going for now.
Yeah, that's very good. Let me segue into a little thing you said. You said you were piqued by Star Wars, the brass in Star Wars. And then you say you were sent to a brass band, you got a tenor horn. Could you take us through the feeling of playing tenor horn for the first time and imagining it would be like Star Wars? Is it anything like that? Maybe sort of, maybe not what I expected.
I can't quite remember, but I would imagine that the first time I blew a sound, I would have been quite disappointed that it wasn't quite as similar to Maurice Murphy playing a top C with the London Symphony Orchestra as I thought. But, I guess the realization that if I was going to become any good at being a brass player, then I'd need to practice and I'd need to be dedicated and all of that. I get, that's kind of, if not obvious, then at least taught to us from an early age, isn't it? And it's the same with any skill in life, unless you're really, really lucky. And I think actually, ironically, Maurice Murphy was very lucky, and he was a very, very natural brass player, and he just seemed to kind of pick it up and play. But anyway, I'm not in that category. So, I put in the hard yards.
Do you think that mindset of knowing, this is not yet it, but I need to practice to get there, has changed over the years? Because I talk with a lot of conductors and here in the Netherlands, and also teachers. and they say that this has changed, that people really don't like to practice anymore, and everybody's expecting things to come more naturally. Do you see the same in the UK?
I think there is that mindset, yeah, and I think TV talent shows kind of perpetuate this kind of wrongful message that you can just turn up, with a kind of a sad backstory, get yourself on stage, and then in 5 minutes you're a celebrity and you own the world type thing. But everyone who's in the music industry knows that's not how it works. So I do think that things like that have kind of perpetuated that mindset. But having said that, I think anyone who's serious about it will understand the need to really put in a lot of practice, a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice over the years, and certainly, some of the musicians I work with at the top level have done that and reaping the rewards.
Yeah, and ironically, maybe the people who get perpetuated to being famous are the ones who practiced the hardest before they stepped into the room there. So
quite possibly, yeah. Who knows? I'm sure there's no magic formula, but like I say, some people get propelled to greatness accidentally, but the vast majority, if they find a path along which they want to go, then they'll realize it's a long path and something they need to kind of stick at as well.
Yeah. Let's get to my next question. So you've practiced. You've gotten there, you are here, but now your working life, what does it look like? How do you combine conducting, composing, and maybe I think your editor and publisher, everything in one? How do you combine it? What does it look like?
Yes, well, I mean, I don't do any tenor horn practice anymore. that's not part of my daily routine. Although I have more and more in recent years played my horn again. That was basically because my children have now grown up and gone into brass bands, and so I'm the sort of parental taxi driver, and rather than sitting outside the rehearsal, I generally tended to kind of sit in. So I do a little bit of playing, but no, practicing is not part of the daily routine. I mean, I generally work from home here, which is where I am now in my office, and my day will consist of currently a lot of composing, and there's a lot of project work involved with Corey Band as well, which needs a fair few phone calls and emails and planning meetings, that sort of thing. My role with Writing Round is as music editor, so I get scores sent to me, and that means every once in a while I need to kind of look at the stack of scores that I've got and decide which ones are going to go through for publication. And then a couple of times a year we release 4 or 5 new titles, and I'm involved in the kind of typesetting and creation of those, and then the marketing of those, and putting those out to market. It doesn't take up a huge amount of my time, but like I say, a couple of periods a year, then I'll be focusing and prioritizing that. But yeah, generally my work here at home is sitting at the computer or the piano, being creative, or taking care of admin like everyone does. And then my main work is obviously in the evenings and at weekends. So I'll go out to rehearsal in the evening and rehearse a band, generally Corey or maybe some other band. And then I'm kind of busy almost every Saturday and Sunday, I would say, every single weekend, either with Corey, or I've just come back from the Sidis competition in Norway this weekend, and I'll be going overseas again in a couple of weeks, and just getting around. So weekdays I'm at home with a cup of tea in my hand, evenings I'm out, weekends I'm away somewhere.
Well, it sounds like a busy life.
Yeah.
I want to segue to your conducting life, actually. And you just made a remark about that you sometimes sit in with a rehearsal with your kids. I can imagine that as a conductor, I don't know which band they play with. I imagine it being a lower section band. I can imagine a conductor getting Philip Harper in front of him playing the tenor horn. It could be a little bit daunting, but...
yeah, well, I mean, I've always asked permission, because I can understand that would be the same. But actually, my son played with the Wootton band in Gloucestershire. It's a first section band, and I think they just got used to me after a while. Realized that, just like them, I was just a human being that can easily get things wrong sitting on second horn. So not immune to criticism as well. But so, yeah, I think, I've actually enjoyed sitting because, as I said to you right at the beginning, I'm just passionate about brass bands and the sound of brass. But as a conductor and a leader, every rehearsal I'm involved with as a conductor, you have to be leading 100% of the time. There's not a single minute of a rehearsal that goes by where you're not setting the agenda to what's going to happen next. Both on a small scale, what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, and on a larger scale as well, planning the rehearsal and what have you. So the one thing I really do enjoy about sitting in the band is just to sit there and be completely reactive to someone else's leadership while still enjoying, the sound around me. It's kind of much more relaxing in many ways.
Yeah. And as a parent, you're also there maybe being proud of what your son does, or maybe thinking about, maybe we should talk at home a little bit about how you do this or that. I don't know.
I mean, maybe we like to chat in the car on the way home. But my daughter and my wife are involved as well. They play. My daughter plays trombone with a Nailsworth band in Gloucestershire. That's a third section band, and my wife is the conductor actually. So often, or they rehearse on the same night as Corey. So often I'm not available, but when I am available, I always go along and help when I can. So last week I was playing first trombone, but in previous weeks I've played baritone. Playing timps is a favourite of mine. Sometimes even tenor horn as well. But I'll just fill in, wherever required. Really, it's just good fun.
Oh, that sounds very, very familiar, actually.